Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Jimenez Flores. I am the 2021-2022 CHCI Facebook Public Policy Fellow, and I am happy to welcome you to our closing plenary session titled Supporting Latina-Owned Businesses. Latina-owned businesses face many disadvantages such as gender discrimination, anti-Latino bias, and often lack necessary resources and capital. Yet, Latinas persevere and are responsible for innovative businesses across the nation that I, for one, am very grateful for because if it's Latina-owned, I buy it. And while my wallet may not always appreciate it, I've discovered many of my holy grail products from Latina-owned businesses. It is my pleasure to introduce today's moderator, Gloria Romano Barrera. Gloria Romano Barrera is the managing editor of Latina Style magazine, a national magazine for the professional Hispanic woman. Joining Latina Style in 2006 as an intern, Gloria now serves as the organization's liaison between Latina Style and government, nonprofit groups, and the private sector across the nation. Please welcome Gloria Romano Barrera.
Thank you, Andrea. Is this on? Okay. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you to the CHCI staff for hosting this summit today. We are very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be here. Just a quick reminder for everyone to please use the hashtag CHCI Summit on social media, specifically Twitter, it seems like it. Again, my name is Gloria Romano Barrera. Thank you for having me here. It is a pleasure. It's my first event actually after COVID, so please bear with me for a bit. So it's been an honor to know the wonderful ladies here on stage, and because first of all, I respect and admire all of them for the contributions and efforts to our community. As a matter of fact, we have featured a few of them in the magazine, and you can read their stories, their success stories, and everything that they have contributed to Latina business owners, and not just Latina business owners, but in general, the nation's economy, and you name it. So I invite you to all read up on latinastyle.com, and not a promotional here, but to learn more about all of them. And it is through my scope of work at Latina Style that I learn about Latina business owners, whether they're small or large, they're starting their business or expanding. We have a program called Latina Style Business Series, and we learn the needs of each business owner, whether it's also their challenges. And COVID, the pandemic, has brought a lot of different ways of how to work, how to manage priorities, how to shift their digital footprints, marketing, branding. And so here we are today with this beautiful experts on stage to talk about the resources and educate us as to how their organization and company support the Latina business owners, which we know that according to statistics, a third of Latina business owners closed their doors due to the pandemic. But we are grateful for the support that their organizations and companies provide to our community, which, according to statistics as well, have been bringing up a larger number of small businesses in the nation, and we contribute to the economy at a large factor more than any other population. So without further ado, I would love to start with Cynthia to briefly introduce yourself and your background, a little bit about the organization that you work for and how they support Latina business owners.
Certainly, and thank you, Gloria, for that introduction. My name is Cynthia Jaramillo, and I serve as the Senior Vice President of Corporate Relations for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, an organization that advocates on behalf of 5 million Hispanic-owned businesses, but in addition to that, I also have an economic development background, so there is a multiplier effect, and that impact that we make really impacts those 5 million Hispanic businesses, their employees, and in addition to that, their families. Prior to that, I served as the City of Albuquerque's first female economic development director, and I also have a small business banking background. Privileged to be here, look forward to the conversation, and hopefully we can all leave here collectively with a mindset in supporting Latino-owned businesses.
Thank you, Cynthia. Ms. Mercedes
Thank
Garcia.
you so much. Mercedes Garcia, Vice President, Community Relations at MasterCard. And for all of you that are thinking MasterCard, is this woman gonna give us credit cards or something? No, MasterCard is not a credit card company. MasterCard is a technology company. The banks are the ones that give cards, not us. So just first thing to take out of the way. And so I have been with MasterCard 28 years, and the last 10 I have been fully dedicated to financial education, financial empowerment. So we are doing a lot of things, not only for small business owners, Latina-owned business, but also for all different underserved communities in the country and in other places as well, students as well. So very excited to be here and very happy to have the opportunity to chat with you about all of those good things that we're doing and why they are so important as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Margaret Hernandez, and I'm the CEO and founder of Socialize LA. And I'm here representing small business, a Latina-owned small business. And the contribution I make to my sisters, my people is it is my goal to just help us to play bigger, to not use what life has given us or how we've started, or just using that as just a foundation and utilizing it as a strength. And as we speak today, I hope that my story can come out a little bit. I'm first generation business owner, first generation, citizen. And just it's been a wild journey, and I hope that I can inspire someone today.
Maria Hicks. I'm the founder of Meridian Group and also Robles Construction. I'm an entrepreneur. We have 2 companies that we have established. The focus of Meridian Group is the historical preservation in the construction area. A lot of our projects are within the Department of Treasury, the White House, very high profile projects, and we are, as most of us have the experience of facing a lot of challenges through our businesses or the goals that we've set for ourselves. I would say that we are an example, and that you have, basically we all can find ways to succeed. So the stories that I think we are all going to share will be exciting for all of the individuals that are trying to establish a business or whatever path that you may want to take. I think it's going to be a great experience.
Beautiful.
Thank you, ladies. Well, I'll start the conversation with Cynthia. Let's dive in. Access to capital, very important when it comes to starting a small business. We Latinos, powerful entrepreneurship in our blood, rooted in us. Now, again, the main challenge is access to capital. How do we improve the lending environment for Latina entrepreneurs or business owners?
Sure, great question, Gloria. And that's all we hear about anymore is the lack of access to capital. And it is our obligation as an association that represents 5 million Hispanic businesses across this country to not only advocate on the Hill on behalf of those Hispanic business enterprises, to ensure that policies are written in a way that are equal to everyone. But in addition to that, we feel an obligation to encourage, especially Latina-owned businesses, to develop a banking relationship. Now, yes, money is lended as a result of credit history, but it is also incredibly important to establish a relationship with your business banker. It's important to choose your banking institution wisely, whether that be a community bank or a national bank like Chase or JP Morgan Chase. And cultivating that relationship, it has been my experience that is incredibly important, making yourself known, showing up to events, joining associations, trade associations, and associations like the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is just as important as having a really great credit score. Again, that relationship, we don't talk about that much, but it has been, again, my experience. I was a small business banker. I worked with micro businesses early on in my career, and now have the opportunity, again, to advocate on your behalf at the national level. But in addition to policy and advocating on behalf of good lending practices and policies is incredibly important, but just as important is establishing that and encouraging Latina entrepreneurs to cultivate their relationships and create relationships with their bankers.
So I have my next question. Thank you for the banking conversation here. My next question will be for Margaret, since you are a small business owner. In an ideal world, right, we have a business and we would love to have the revenue to bring employees. What recommendations would you give to Latinas to secure capital or gain the confidence to bring that forward to a business?
This is a very, there's so many variations to this question and answers, but what I will say is ask questions and be responsible. I believe it all stems back to the issue of financial literacy. As a young person, I lived in a house, I don't know if anyone can relate, where we were rich in love. Okay, love was abundant, it still is. And we lived paycheck to paycheck. We layawayed, we $1 menued. And I say it with no shame. I mean, this is my life. It's beautiful, the best memories, but I did not know how to manage money. I did not know how to save. I didn't know any of that. So I know that you're not 12 years old right now. So you're already adults. It's not too late to just start inquiring, because the other thing we need to do is we must ask questions. And I actually just thought of this right now, is that one thing that I did not do because I was always afraid. So remember, I was 28 when I started my business. I'm 41 now. And I had no money. Like, I had nothing at all. I had no capital. But I was so embarrassed that I would never ask any questions. So I actually don't know what I didn't have access to. I just assume I had no access to it. So don't assume. And educate yourself.
So that's why we're here, right? We're going to educate ourselves. And Mercedes, please tell us about financial literacy at MasterCard.
As you can imagine, I was ready to jump when Cynthia was talking, and then when Margaret, thank you both. But, financial literacy or financial education, financial empowerment is something that sometimes people overlook or don't think about that much. But I believe in my 10 years of experience with that, working with all kinds of different people everywhere, is the basis for everything. Because let's say you're going to start a business. If you don't have your own finances under control, it's not that likely that that you're going to be very successful. So when I do workshops and training for small business owners or entrepreneurs or gig workers, freelancers, etc., we always start by, okay, let's see how you're managing your money. Savings, budgeting, credit scoring, and using technology, which takes me, as I was saying at the beginning, that MasterCard is not a credit card company. We are the technology behind electronic payments, digital payments. And so is leveraging technology today, because there's so many tools, so many alternatives out there to help us manage our money better, save time, save money, and especially for a business. Just imagine, I have worked, for example, with La Señora de los Churros in New York, and talked to her, so how many times have you been robbed? because you have only cash after you finish selling your churros. Well, many times, okay. So have you heard about Square, for example, which is a tiny thing that you can put in your phone? You have a phone, right? Yes, I do. Okay, I want to learn about that. And I always tell them, like, how are you going to grow your business if you are a cash-only business and you're expecting your customers to come to you in person with cash? Who carries a lot of cash these days? And come to you. And it was like a rude awakening during COVID because many of them realized that they didn't accept electronic payments. They didn't have a payment card, for example, or a bank account. They were locked at home and they were not able to pay for things. They were not able to pay their bills or order things to be delivered to their homes. And all my dear, small, tiny business owners, they were just like, now I understand. I haven't been able to sell anything because nobody's going to come to me with cash. So all of that is part of education. All of that is part of the first thing we all need to do. That's why we work with students and with children, in 7-year-olds all the way up, and to think about that. This is where we need to start. And then once we have that down and know how things work and how we manage our money, then we start thinking about a business and what I need to learn for my business to be successful. So,
Maria, you run a very powerful company. What programs do you use or manage for your company to be successful?
SBA has a lot of programs, funding, resources that if you just go into the SBA website, you will see resources that you can reach out to. When I got into the 8A program, the first thing I did was looked into those. As we all have stated here, we have to educate ourselves and do our research. So I proceeded to look into the loans. Unfortunately, even though there's resources out there, you have to be persistent, which I was, but SBA did not really provide the funding I needed. I think some of the stories that we can share here is that we come from, some of us, nothing, with probably single parents. And it's when you see your parents struggling or one parent, you want to be better. So my story would be that when I saw my mother struggling to survive, I became educated myself in terms of the finances. And when we started our own company, we invested ourselves, capital from our own personal savings. That took many years. And I think as I was very young, we were in our 20s when we did this, but our company, we had no money. So SBA, even though there's resources there, the banks oftentimes, if you don't have past performance, if you don't have capital, banks will reject your application. So there are resources out there. You just have to be persistent and continue on the fight. If an agency closes the door, then you just want to find ways to get those loans. It didn't work for me, so that's the only thing I can share about that particular program for the funding.
Thank you for that. And hopefully everyone is taking some notes so that they can go back wherever they are and they can check these resources available for you. And Mercedes, I want to ask you a question regarding the programs at MasterCard. Are there any particular programs, digital programs that you can talk about that perhaps anyone, an aspiring Latina small business owner in the room can look into?
Yeah, absolutely. So at MasterCard, we definitely want to be a force for good. And when everybody thrives, we thrive as well as a company. So especially after COVID, we work in developing different kinds of products and technology, et cetera, to help small business. Especially those that I mentioned that were not really leveraging their digital presence, that they didn't realize that they could continue growing and being successful by having a digital presence and having the capability of selling their goods and services online. So one of the programs that was developed is called Digital Doors. So we developed the tools for small business owners to do a self-assessment and realize where they are in terms of their digital presence, but also the safety and security of the transactions. If they already accept payment cards, if they don't, we also have the modules for that. But let's say they do, but their safety and security for their information and their clients' information is not what it should be. So this program helped them with all of that. Additionally, we committed $250 million to support small businesses with insights, information, which in so many cases is really important because you don't know what you don't know. So what about your competitors? What's in the area where your business is at, and all of those good things. So there's a lot of different programs, a lot of free perks, and also websites where have like discounts of different many things. So there has been a lot being done there to put our commitment on our part as well to help, because everybody should be involved. Everybody should be involved for the recovery of the country, for the recovery of all those small businesses that have suffered so much. So we are very committed and very, very dedicated to that as well. We think we have a role like every, public and private organizations or companies should be. So we're definitely doing our part.
Thank you for that. Now moving forward to USHCC, Cynthia, what are the programs available, training programs, or any resources that everyone here can take advantage of?
Yeah, great. Thank you for the question. It's a perfect segue. And I'll just start with saying, if you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, please visit our website at ushcc.com. Subscribe to receiving that newsletter via email. We also, of course, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And I'll just say MasterCard and Square, those two are incredible corporate partners of ours. We've partnered on many initiatives and small business technical resources. And right now we have several programs, and I won't go into detail on all of them. We do have an accelerator that is called Avanzar. We partner with our local chambers across this country. Our local chambers make up 260 Latino chambers across the U.S. They're really the boots on the ground that really deploy the programs and the services on our behalf. And so several programs, initiatives, and as a matter of fact, we will be announcing several recovery programs, because recovery is still, we're still post-pandemic, and recovery is still an issue across this country. And so I'll say that to say this: please visit our website, subscribe to our newsletter, because we do have incredible resources for Latina-owned businesses, for small businesses across the country. We'll be announcing many in the days to come. But as all of our panelists said today, there are technical assistance programs in local areas. You can partner with your community colleges. You can reach out to local universities. In addition to the 8A program, your small business development centers have many technical assistance programs that are free of charge to all of you. In addition to that, your local governments, your economic development departments in many instances have local programs that are free of charge. There are so many resources, but the problem that we all face is lack of awareness. It's hard for us to make aware and make available all of those resources to especially Latina-owned businesses. But they do exist, they're there, but you have to search for them. Again, and we feel an obligation to make sure that we're making these resources available to Latina businesses all over the country.
Thank you, Cynthia. Now, Margaret, for you, I read in your bio that you were part of the National Association of Women Business Owners.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how they assisted you in your business, or how are you connected with them, in what ways?
Okay. So we know that community is important. And I somehow found the National Association of Women Business Owners in Los Angeles. And I went to my first event and I said, I've got to join this organization. Now, not to harp on money, I couldn't afford to join. Now we have a next gen program, and I believe the majority of you would qualify for that. And so you can talk to me about that later, but they made a way for me to not only join, long story short, this amazing organization, high-powered LA businesswomen, like high-powered LA businesswomen, just welcomed me to the membership committee. And I'm just, I say a little girl because that's how I felt. I was 28. I had $20 in my pocket every time I went to the committee meeting once a month. My grandma gave it to me. I'm being very transparent here. And I would park far so I didn't have to pay for parking. And then if anybody said, like, let's go out, let's do something after, I would at least be able to, like, do something. Okay, guys? But these women didn't care about that. They didn't care that my business was new. They didn't care that I was only making maybe, like, at that point, I was already making a couple thousand a month. They didn't care. They just welcomed me to their table, and that's what NAWBO's about. And it was very diverse. It wasn't now I'm also a part of the National Latina Women Business Association, which is for professionals and business owners. I didn't even know about them until a few years ago. But NAWBO was the one that introduced me, and this was over a decade ago now. So from that one encounter in Los Angeles, 2 years later, they had an event in Miami. And I said, I have to go to Miami. Again, going back to the money thing, because it matters. It just matters that I would just risk everything because I believed it in my gut. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I had zero.
Zero. We're going to talk after this so we can just swap war stories. I was in Miami. I had $140 in my checking account. Okay? And if anything went wrong, God help me. But there, at that event, I met the CEO of NAWBO, General. I told Becky, I'm like, if I have to talk about NAWBO, I do not want to cry. But they have been so instrumental, and it's partners like MasterCard that allow NAWBO to thrive. Like, we need more people investing in NAWBO because what NAWBO is doing, and they're so quiet about it, it's unreal. They gave me a platform to have a successful business. I've been in business for 13 years now. I just opened what I call a pop-up in London. I don't know where that's going, but my tagline for life in my business is be wildly excited about the possibilities. And that is how I live my life. But NAWBO, the community, has been everything to me. I've got one of my best friends from that organization. Yeah.
Very good friend.
Yes.
7 years we were together.
Yes. And I recently moved to New York, and there's a NAWBO chapter there. So I have like instant business friends and instant committee. I mean, it's just unreal. So look at your resources. I can't say enough about the National Association of Women Business Owners. Even if you don't have a business yet, you're thinking about it, the Next Gen program is unreal. So, and gentlemen, if you need resources, I'm happy to supply some resources to you. And we do have gentlemen that join us all the time. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. I hope it inspired everyone here in the audience to look into Next Gen, looking into the organizations, not just for women or Latinas, but in general for women, because there are other resources that we shouldn't just stick to, okay, just look for the Latina business owners organizations. I think that's
the diversity is very
right. And so if you expand and you broaden your networks, I mean, you'll thrive, of course, with the Latina organizations, but expanding your networks is also useful and it serves as a good resource. Excuse me. Now, speaking about the digital platforms, digital footprint, Margaret, how do you go about branding and promoting your business?
Okay, so my whole business is helping other businesses market themselves. So I refer to what we do as modern marketing. It's modern, it's marketing. And I think, just because that's a big question too, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but for the sake of this room, if you have a small business thinking about launching a small business, seek to just educate your audience and tell your story. And remember that your personal social media and your business social media are not separate. They are one. So like my personal social media is very much business because people like to know. One thing that has not changed in marketing in all of the decades past is people will do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And what modern marketing has done has just bridged that gap. It just bridged that gap. So what you do right now here, we're networking. I don't have to tell you, I mean, I feel like we all maybe have embraced, digital marketing, but it's just important to really focus on telling a story, being authentic, being consistent. One of my employees says, she's, every year she's like, what do we want to talk about as the new year approaches? And she laughs because every year I'm like, the number one thing to think of this year in your marketing is being consistent. And I say it every single year because that's what it is. I don't care about how cool your reel is. You're gonna dance on your reel. If you're not consistent, then it's just not gonna work. And I know that now because I've been in business for quite a bit now and I've seen it. So,
Thank you for those insights. Maria, what methods do you use to promote your business?
Really, what the success of our projects drives future work. I'm very hands-on to a point where I think I drive some of the PMs crazy. And your story is crucial. And you have to love what you do. We are really entrepreneurs. My background is not construction, but I have a passion for what I do, and the clients see that, and we meet their expectation. We actually don't advertise. It's all of the work that comes in is referrals from our government. All of our work is the federal government, and we really don't have to do much, but you have to be very in tune with your team, with the individuals leading those projects. If you're hands-off, you're not going to be as successful. And that's really that's what we do for our clients, and it's worked out very well.
Mercedes, would you like to add? Thank you so much for that. Would you like to add anything regarding promoting your business successfully?
What I would recommend I would say first, after, before promoting, is just make sure you're using technology. You're using the best technology that it's available to you.
Beautiful.
Right? I think it's really, really important for you to master that, to really know how to use it. Because there's so many amazing tools out there. Every time I hear somebody, oh no, cash is king and my business is cash only because, one day I almost missed a flight because I was at the airport talking to someone, said, no, sit down, let me tell you about it. Because I'm very passionate about this. Because why would you be limiting yourself and spending so much money? There's something called the cost of cash that sometimes people don't think about it. Mm-hmm. So if you realized how much you're spending for managing everything in cash, you would have a heart attack. So just make sure that you learn about technology, what's the best technology for your business, what you can do to optimize the processes, also safety and security, as I was telling you about before, and make sure that you are providing your customers convenience, yes. Safety, convenience, because that tells the best story about you as a company. Right. If you're taking the time to do the legwork and to ensure that I can pay as I want from whatever I want, at whatever alternative I want to use, if it's cash or check or a card or online with my phone or whatever, that tells a lot about you caring for your customers. So that's something really, really important, embracing technology, showing the kind of company you are. We're talking about getting credit, access to credit, access to funding. For those companies that decide to go cash only, or most of it cash only, how can you tell your story? How can you tell how successful you are, your profits, how much you're selling, or what's happening, if you're doing everything under the table with cash?
Right.
So, oh yeah, I sell hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, show me. Well, you know, we're a cash-only place, so, you know, but I tell you, we sell everything. We're so successful. That's not gonna work. As a person, if you're using only cash and you wanna, you know, have a good credit scoring or wanna, you know, go for a loan, you won't be able to show anything. And as a company, same thing. So use technology to your advantage, to your own benefit, and do it right. So take the time to learn all these things.
Thank you, thank you. And Cynthia, would you like to chip into the conversation on promoting or marketing tools for businesses?
Certainly. I'll just add, I mean, we have two very young but seasoned business owners on this panel, and you have to be very strategic in your delivery when you're promoting your business. You know, promoting to the federal government, responding to an RFP and promoting your business and trying to win an award with the federal government is very different than promoting your retail store on a social media platform. And so you have to be strategic. There isn't a one-size-fits-all for every business, and promoting yourself to the federal government is very strategic. You have to be very deliberate. And back to my original comment about relationships, there's nothing like, yes, the digital age has provided us the opportunity to promote our businesses globally, but there is nothing like promoting yourself as that trusted, if you're an advisor or a retailer, a business banker, depending on your business, you have to be very strategic. And so you have to look at that with two different lenses, 3, 4, 5, just depending on your business and your audience. So you have to be, again, you have to pivot depending on who that audience is, who that customer is.
Thank you, thank you.
And I can relate to that. I just want to add that comment that really we use newsletters, and a lot of the websites and other tools that we use, because we do government work, they really don't do much for us, where the performance on the current work is really what opens door for future work. So you have a really good point there.
Thank you. And Maria, now that we are with you here, how did your digital footprint shifted post-COVID?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get
So post-COVID, now that the digital footprint, how has it shifted to meet the current situation that we are in?
It was, I think all of us have had many challenges. Our first contract with the federal government was $98,000, and currently we have about $54 million in revenue. So our workload went down due to COVID. I think it's just a challenge. Funding was an issue. We actually were awarded contracts that the federal government then decided to cancel. That was a big challenge. But for us, and I think the critical thing that I think we want to learn here is the financial aspect. If you are looking to grow a business, you have to ensure that you have that capital or find the resources you need to be able to get to that. I did not have that, so I invested in myself. And what we did, we just took, money out of our retirement to put into our business. So that money was able to grow. And I also was I worked 24/7 for many years. So once we got to a point where we had enough capital to be able to hire people, we were then we started hiring staff. But it was a very challenging year for us. Last year it was tough. However, now that we worked through COVID, we didn't stop working at all. We kept knocking on doors. Some things were, again, taken away from us, and other opportunities came up, and it's being persistent. And it's 24/7, but I am going from less than 100,000 to 54 million in revenue with no debt, no banks. Now, of course, that we are very successful and we have a lot of capital, banks are knocking on our door. They want to lend us money. And if I'm a success to someone that didn't have anything, anyone can do it. You just have to stay strong and find ways, as I think we've all discussed, that there's so many resources out there that we just have to find the time to research that and talk to your bankers, credit card companies, and so forth.
Can you elaborate a bit on the supply chain issues? Has it affected in any way your company?
Absolutely.
Inflation?
I think we all have had those challenges. Because we do government, because we work with the federal government, most of our contracts are firm fixed price. So if a contract is $2 million, then we have to perform the work for $2 million. Now, the materials are going up, labor, all of that. So if our partners, our subcontractors, are giving us price increases, we really can't pass that on to the government. That has become a challenge. So the supply chain has been difficult for all of us. But we do have great partners. And because we have that relationship, they make an effort to keep those costs down so that we can execute the contract on time, within budget, and that's really the key to working with the federal government.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Cynthia, you work with a lot of, or you have relationships within the Chamber of Commerce with a lot of corporations and you name it, businesses. How has it affected supply chain and inflation, affected the small businesses that you work with?
Ooh, great question. Inflation, supply chain, or the lack thereof, has critically impacted so many Latino-owned and small businesses alike across this country. Fortunately, we are seeing some relief, not as fast as we'd like to see it, but we are seeing some relief. And I'll just speak directly to the Latino-owned businesses in this country. We're very hesitant to increase our prices. Many times we don't see the incredible value that we provide to our buyers. And I think that as an organization, again, back to responsibility, it is our responsibility to help those businesses to realize their value. And in addition to that, it's our responsibility to ensure that our businesses that are not only members of ours, but members of our local associations and local chambers across the country are really evaluating their costs and providing those programs, those financial literacy programs is really key. But again, inflation is somewhat of a new term for younger entrepreneurs. And it's our responsibility, again, back to education. And that responsibility of educating Latino-owned businesses across the country about inflation and supply chain issues. Again, fortunately, we are seeing some relief. It's not happening fast enough, but we are seeing it.
Now, I would like to see from a show of hands how many of you would like to start your own business someday in the future.
Yes.
Now, I would like to ask our team, our panel here, to share some advice for the aspiring Latino business owners. What advice would you share with some of them here in the audience? And we start with Cynthia, please.
Sure. Now, I'm not an entrepreneur, but I am by nature. In my current role, I serve entrepreneurs and serve small businesses, but I have ventured into the space of being an entrepreneur. And I will just be very transparent and honest with you. These two women business owners on this panel, I admire them extraordinarily. They have made incredible leaps and taken many risks. It is not for everyone, and it is not easy. You have to be ready to really be in the trenches in order to make your business successful. Now, I have chosen the path to advocate on behalf of all of you, to provide resources and education on your behalf. But if I could offer any advice, I would really just, I would say to really reflect on what you really want, because there's nothing wrong with taking the path of working for a corporation or working for one of those 5 million Hispanic businesses across the country. We need workforce, and talent pipeline is incredibly important. And so I would just say reflect and really evaluate before you make that decision. It is an admirable one. And we're all, being Latinos, we are entrepreneur just by nature, and it's birthed within us. But my advice would be to just really evaluate, because again, it's not easy, but it is admirable. And if you are thinking about that, I encourage you to do it and take that leap and take that risk. Even if it doesn't work out, you know, even if you fail, that's okay too.
Mercedes would like to.
I'm totally with you, Cynthia. I'm also not a business owner, but my mission is to help empower those that want to be. So with the work that I do, which is not only my mission, but my passion as well. And my passion has been, you know, helping people see the things that are out there, all the resources, information, tools, so many things that are out there. Sometimes it's overwhelming, so many that you don't know where to start. So definitely that's what I enjoy doing, and that would be my recommendation to you. Just take advantage of all the resources out there, and overcome the misperceptions. Sometimes we think that things are this way or that way, and we just continue going forward with those misperceptions or misconceptions. Just be open and flexible to think that sometimes things are different, and that there's help and resources out there for you.
Thank you, Margaret. Would you like to chip in?
So everything that we do every day we have a choice. We have a choice whether to sleep in. We have a choice whether to try something new. So just think about your choices every day. Every day I have, like, do I want to work out? Do I not want to? I mean, just constantly. And I have my goals. I have financial goals. I have personal goals. And so stay connected to that. And before you do that, you need to know what those are. So what's your why? What's your goal? What's your end game? And FYI, you are going to fail. Yeah. You will fail. I fail all the time. I don't care. It's just part of what I'm doing. It's like, oh, this client decides that they're asking us to, charge less. It's like, no, I have a staff of 10 people. We've got to just work to bring on the right people. And anyway, I don't want to go down a tangent, but you're going to fail. Dust yourself off. It's just part of the journey. Oh, and utilize your resources. I'm a resource. I've been using the hashtag. You can connect with me. Ask me questions. And I say that whenever I speak. Not a lot of people do. Don't be afraid. So,
thank
you,
Margaret.
to support each other.
Thank you.
Well, small business is not for the weak. It's not for everyone. And owning your own business is not for everyone, as we've mentioned. However, there are a lot of resources that I feel, as a minority, Spanish, Salvadorian, we're not utilizing. A perfect example is the 8A program. When I go to the 8A events, I'm the only women-owned minority. There's a lot of Indians and Asians, and I look around and I say, wow, where's my people? Where are we? And it's because we don't take the time to educate ourselves. I went through the 8A program did the entire application by myself. There's companies out there that can help you, but I wanted to understand the process, and I take this very seriously because it's an opportunity that we all have as minorities, and all of us can make a lot of money. But we have to ensure that we understand the process. And I'm very successful. There's so many things that you can do. It takes a lot of work, and you will fail. And sometimes you may have to go through the process 2 or 3 times until your application gets approved, but don't give up. And that's really my take on.
Thank you.
Owning a business is 24/7.
Right.
I have 2 boys. I didn't really spend much time with them when they were growing up, but I gotta say, I took things very seriously. And my oldest one is a mechanical engineer, that he's studying to become a mechanical engineer. So we make choices. And what's the choice? I chose to be a businesswoman. My focus was my job and my family. Lost all my friends, but I can say that I can retire in a couple of years. And, I'm okay with that. Exactly, absolutely.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, yeah, very similar. I own a small business as well, aside from my full-time job, and I've learned that friends will not be patient, but they will be there. Sleeping in it's not there. I have 2 kids, 2 boys, and so I don't sleep much, but here I am. It's a sacrifice, but again, we're thinking about the future, thinking about what we're gonna have after retirement, my husband and I. And so all these resources are available. And again, like I mentioned earlier, having the resources, expanding your horizons, expanding your network, it's always a good idea, and of course recommended by our experts here. So we are going to move forward with our questions, a Q&A. Anyone who has any questions, please raise your hand.
Good afternoon, ladies. First off, as a Colombian immigrant, a Latinx business owner, you have made my day. It is wonderful to see you and hear you. But one of the biggest barriers I have found is that our biggest barrier is our own mental blocks. I've had my consulting business for 9 years, but I didn't quit my full-time job until 7 years in because I was so risk adverse, right? I'm a Colombian immigrant, first generation. My mother is also a business owner, but making that jump from sort of disconnecting myself from that full-time stable job to my own business was something that was hard to do. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how do we move away from being sort of so risk adverse as a result of our own lived experiences as immigrants, as sort of hard workers in this country. What would you say to that?
Anyone in particular wants to take the question?
I can answer by saying that I struggle myself. We had the business was established probably for about 5 years, and doing the work on the side, on the weekends, and raising kids. I was afraid because I wanted my boys to have a better life than I did. And I was so afraid of letting go of a job that paid me well and the kids just had a good life. And you just have to take a leap of faith. But you have to be ready financially. You have to be ready emotionally. If you're not and you just decide you're just going to do it one day, you're going to fail. Priorities is so crucial. Make a list of the things that you need. And if you know you've checked all that and you want to do it, you should. But it's tough when you make those choices. So I hear you.
And I just want to say,
Go ahead, Mark.
I think we're all just very different. Mm-hmm. And there's actually nothing wrong with you keeping your job. I quit immediately, 28, lived in New York, left my job, but I had no responsibilities. And honestly, I couldn't answer your question about risk because my whole life everything I do is, I just decided 3 weeks ago to move to New York and I'm living there now. So wow. That's how I live. So, but that's me, not you. Mm-hmm. But I did do that, and I did succeed, and I am succeeding. So, I mean, you just have to like really trust yourself and do your best to set yourself up. I mean, don't go out and buy a new car and then can't, quit your job. Like, let's be smart here. So just keep trusting yourself. You know what someone told me the other day? I said, because he's a financial guy, and I said, hey, so where should I be investing my money? And he said, you want to know the answer? I said, yes, tell me. He said, invest in yourself. And I said, that's what I do all the time. Because I take very good care of myself, right, Becky?
Thank you, Margaret. And yes, absolutely agree with Margaret on the fact that everyone is different. I still have my full-time job. I have my 2 boys. My husband has his full-time job. We're both, we have this business going on for 4 years. It's a lot of work. We prioritize. And yeah, we started it as, okay, let's try a business plan. We wrote what we envisioned. And then 3 months later, oh my God, this does not look the same it was 3 months ago. What are we going to do? Financially, we went to the banks. We made sure we got a credit card with the lowest interest rate. We didn't know many banks do not support low interest rates, and grants. If you're looking into government grants, they are available. You just need to apply, submit your information, and they will come to you. Again, going back to what everyone spoke about today, being real in your story and sharing it also on social media. And that's how we've been able to leverage our small business aside from my full-time job. So if you want to connect after this, feel free to connect. But yes, I agree with both of them, prioritizing and just things will change. For me, it changed once I had my boys, because then it wasn't just free flow from New York to DC, to Virginia, California, and then I had to settle at some point. But anyway, we can keep chatting on that if you would like to connect. Anyone else?
Thank you so much, ladies. I compliment you. My wife is an attorney. She started her own law office, the first Latina in the Inland Empire, which is San Bernardino and Riverside. Completely support her. She's smarter than I am. When I married her, I married up. The IQ went down because of me. But I totally agree that for the first 2 years, I was the one that was full-time. I was already teaching at the college, and she started her business. She worked 24 hours. No cases were closed. When you're doing personal injury workers' comp, you have to wait until the case is closed. Sometimes it takes years, so I admire you. One of the things that I want to ask, though, is that now, is the federal government helping you in terms of what they're doing in regards to the contract? I'm a College Board of Trustee. I always pay attention to make sure that the grants that are given or the opportunities that are given reflect the composition of the community, which is if there's a high level of Latinas or Latinos, African American as well. In California, we have 56%. I want to make sure that before we give the contract, that we were given an opportunity to, especially Latinas, to apply for the grants. I compliment you. There's not that many people in the trying to get grants for construction. There's very few. So do you think that they're doing enough, meaning the federal government, federal agencies, because they do give us grant opportunities. We've received over $300 million on programs. We have to make sure. So I always tell my administrators, make sure we select the best person, but if it's a Latino or Latina, you give them first priority because that reflects the community. Do you see that you're taking advantage, or we, the congressional people, especially in the workforce development, are they giving you that opportunity?
My main work is the federal government, so federal contracts. I see when we get solicitations, there's different categories. I'm seeing more of the women-owned, the Hispanic. So I check every box. We are Hub Zone. We are women-owned certified, 8A certified. So I have every certification out there so that when we have an opportunity, to bid on these projects, then we take advantage of them. The neat thing about the 8A program is that it's a sole source contract. You're not competing, we're not competing with the Grunleys, with the Clarks. It's a direct award based on your social economic selection. So we take advantage of that, and I have seen that the government does give you an opportunity in those areas. And we are in the process of graduating through the program, and when we first started, the categories were limited, and we have seen more of those, like I said, Hispanic-owned selections. So I would say yes.
Great, thank you. We have one more question. Do we have time for it?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis. There seems to be an emergence in the financial industry of like startup banks. I call them digital banks, like First Women's Bank or the Agility Bank, that actually try to bridge the gap between the gender lending gap. So I was wondering, as a financial professional, what can organizations like Bank of America, Citibank, even Allstate, right, other insurance industries, to one, reanalyze the RFP process, right, to filter in more minority-owned business in our applications in the RFP process, but as well, how can we support you? Like, how can we market it? How can we bring your issues, highlight your issues in the industry to help you guys go up?
I could try to start to answer that somewhat. When it comes to financial institutions, I think that it's your all's responsibility to make a commitment to support minority-owned businesses across the country. And what I mean by that, I mean a commitment to buying from and doing business with. But in addition to lending, and it's not an easy commitment to make. For example, J.P. Morgan Chase made an extraordinary commitment to support Black and brown businesses, not only in the areas of lending, but also in education and helping them to scale up, to get to the point of doing business with them directly. And so many financial institutions have made those same commitments. However, it has to be done in a way that is deliberate. And so the higher ups have to provide the resources to departments across the board to ensure that Latina and Latino-owned businesses that the access is made available. And again, it can't just be lip service. It has to be a financial commitment, billions of dollars in a commitment. And I think that we're beginning to see the needle move. But that's one way that financial institutions could help. And there's so many others. It's
holding them accountable.
Right. Yes,
like let's
exactly.
hold people accountable. Like, you're sitting here not to just learn for yourself, but you're clearly leaders. So you're not here to just be successful on your own. Like, we are here to, in NABA, we have a saying that as we're climbing up, I'm putting my hand out behind me and bringing others up with me. And so, how do we do this? I don't know. We're not answering that question right now. Right now, we're learning. We're being inspired. We're growing.
Yeah,
But,
no, absolutely. And it goes back to even the federal procurement question. I would say that we are not seeing enough contracts trickle down to minority-owned businesses. I would say, and for corporations alike, both corporate America and the federal government and local governments across this country are not investing enough in minority-owned businesses across the board.
That was my perfect. That was a good question because we have to hold them accountable.
Correct.
Anyone else has any questions? And thank you for the question there. And thank you, Cynthia and Margaret, for chiming in there. No other questions anymore? Well, I am going to give my list of what I learned, and hopefully everyone took notes of resources available. One, relationships are important. Your digital footprint, modern marketing, be strategic in promoting yourself, be persistent, overcome misperceptions. And last but not least, do not sleep in. So with all of that, please Join me with a round of applause for the ladies.